Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 301st edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me this evening on the call, we have Dave the Hater Lowback and Andy Patterson. I know Rob Kelly's coming along a little bit later on, so, hopefully, one or two of the other guys, we can maybe stir up the ghost of Donny. If he's not sticking his face on barbecues this week, we'll hopefully get somebody else on. Thanks for joining us. Stick with us as well, because we'll be going on to the big one next week, of course. Not talking about Mundine against Horn, although that's pretty big down under. If Mundine is, I don't know how he's still making the weight, to be honest. But anyway, we'll get on to that. We'll also get on to Fury Wilder, obviously, and look at the other bits and pieces over the weekend just gone. There's Gabe Lewis. Always good to have Gabe on the call. I knew he wouldn't let us down. Yeah, we'll be going on to Wilder Fury later on. That's the big one, isn't it? The biggest fight in a long time, I suppose. Bellew of the Weeks. We've also got the odd couple of questions as well coming in. Not so many questions these days because of us not being live. Yeah, that's just the way it is, unfortunately. Andy, let's go on to you first of all. We shall start over in Monte Carlo. To my shame, I'll just come clean. Like I just said to you boys, I actually forgot this card was even on and just went to bed last night. So I have seen precious little of Khalid Jafai against Israel Gonzalez. Dennis Lebedev, I know you didn't see that much of that one either, against Mike Wilson. Upset loss for Frank Buglioni. Didn't see anything of him getting knocked out in the fifth round by Fan Long Meng. Michael Hunter, Dave will come in on that one very shortly. Yeah, Monte Carlo, Andy, any point to these shows? Did you enjoy it?
Did I enjoy it? Well, I'll put it this way, mate. I don't know if people on Twitter last night and stuff like that, I was posting that I was actually watching Barney Ross and Jim McLernand's trilogy of fights for 1935. Yep, maybe makes me a hipster and stuff like that. I really don't not give a shit. That card it didn't inspire me to sit and watch it. When it came to the fact that I did get into watch it this morning, what can I say? I mean, people going about us being absolutely negative right for the offset about Matchroom and Sky and all that sort of stuff. Well, can I just say Sky were absolutely negative and downbeat right for the off last night with the commentary. Matthew Macklin basically, that guy Lucinov, he must have knocked him back or MTK back in the past, because he just shat on him for like for the 3 rounds that fight went ahead.
Again, he's done that before, hasn't he?
He has. I mean, I've chatted to Lucinov as well. As he's not got the style that it's going to be conducive to an exciting pro career. I did agree with Dave Caldwell. If someone's going to put it on him, he's going to go into a defensive shell and he's going to basically look to use his amateur skills and all that sort of stuff. And they're talking about Josh Kelly and that. At the end of the day, Josh Kelly's a good fighter, but as Rob says as well, as he thinks he's Roy Jones throwing triple left hooks and stuff like that. You show me a guy at world level who's going to land triple left hooks against. It's not going to happen. So people need to fucking calm down a wee bit here with Josh Kelly and that as well. Okay, he beat him in the amateurs and all that sort of stuff, but Lucinov, he's good at what he does, and it's not exciting. Josh Kelly maybe a wee bit exciting, but who's he fighting? He's not fighting anybody. So people just need to calm down a wee bit about the whole situation. As I say, it just kind of set the narrative straight off of the bat. First round, it wasn't exciting to watch, and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, okay, you're entitled to your opinion, so I'm entitled to mine. That card was shite. Buglioni, basically again defended with his face. I did say his last week, I thought that fight might have been the most interesting on the card. That's what it turned out to be. The Chinese guy is going to be, I'm not going to profess he's going to be like world level or anything like that, but he's going to cause people at a decent level some problems. Southpaw, long, rangy, the more kind of filled out light heavyweight as well. So he's going to cause problems and stuff. What level is it? I really don't know, because we all know Buglioni is probably at best British, maybe fringe European level fighter. So we'll wait and see what happens with the Chinese fella. Did they see Lebedev and Mike Wilson? Purely because by the time I got through the F5 fight, I had no will to watch Lebedev. And I really didn't. I said to you last week, I had no clue who he's fighting, this Mike Wilson guy. In the end, he's basically kind of ran wide with the scorecards. People saying he's here to be taken. Of course he has. He's been in a lot of hard fights and stuff. Okay, he's only had 33, 34 pro fights, but he's had a tough career. He's ready to go, and he's a fake world champion. We all know what happened with that WBA title when he defended against Gvozdyk. So we'll just call it at that. But who else was in the card? Yafai. I'll say this about Yafai. And I'll say this for Eddie Hearn about Cal Yafai as well. He's a good enough wee fighter, right? But he is not elite world level. Okay, it feels like he's been a world champion there or WBA champion for fucking ages. But who's he fighting? Absolute nobody. You know, and now they want to call it the problem with the ghost, a fucking chocolatito. No,
I knew it. I knew it.
I know. The thing is, it seemed like, okay, Concepcion was coming off some good wins, so it was a decent enough win. But Concepcion isn't a career super flyweight. Yafai's a bantamweight, drained himself to make the weight. Ishida, okay, decent enough win. Carmona, you know, he'd been over the coast before. And actually, I think he'd been handled off. I think it was Inoue, but I think it was maybe even one of the other. I think it was Narvaez. Maybe he got knocked out off. Narvaez is absolute. You know, he's a career super flyweight. So it's, you know, again, I'm sounding like I'm being negative and stuff like that towards your fight, but he doesn't do nothing to excite me at all. He's going to be, I'm going to put on a blistering performance. Well, I'm still waiting to see this blistering performance. And now Eddie Hearn's coming out saying he needs test. Well, was the last night not a test? He was struggling at times. Did they get he only got I think, because of the scorecards were so wide, he must have been given the advantage. Must have been given every single close round on that card purely because he was coming forward the entire fight, and Gonzalez was counter shotting. But at the same time, Gonzalez was landing, you know, some good combinations, and I had that fight very, very close. Maybe even a draw. Actually, I didn't actually score it, but it was a very, very close fight, and it's absolutely clear that any close fight involving the matchroom fighter is going to go to the matchroom fighter. And two, if it's a WBA trinket or title that's on the line for that matchroom fighter, that WBA judge and referee is going to make sure that the matchroom fighter is going to get the nod, because we've seen the pictures with Eddie Hearn and Mendoza all closing up in the first class, business class, and on the trains and on fucking airports and stuff like that. So we all know what's kind of happening in the background here. That last night was absolutely disgusting fucking scorecard. And then they come out and say afterwards, you know, oh, we're looking for unification fights, and we're wanting, if we can't get those, we'll go for Roman Gonzalez. Well, wait a fucking minute. I have not heard Eddie Hearn or Kal call out, for example, Rungvisai. Does anybody want that work? Does anybody really believe that Yafai absolutely straining himself to make that weight is going to fight an absolute killer in Rungvisai? You've got Estrada, you've got Ioka, you know, decent fighters. You've got Nodin Yetes. Why not call it these guys? But
what about Ankayas, Andy? What about Ankayas?
Oh, that's another. I mean, Ankayas isn't great, but that's another name they're not calling it. But they want to go for the Fairy Ghost and Roman Gonzalez. And I'll tell you one thing, by the way. See if Gonzalez has got one big performance left in him, by the way. I'd love to see him take that fight and win it, because I'm sick and fucking tired of these matchroom fighters taking the path of least resistance. It's always the same. It's easy paydays or fucking supposed safe defences. And then when it comes to the, you know, it's, well, no, boxing's all about timing and all that sort of stuff, but come on to fuck. You know, get the unification fights made. If you're not going to make a unification fight and you're trying to make the weight, go up to fucking 118 and see how you get on up there, because that's where you're actually naturally suited. But no, you didn't want to go up there because, well, obviously the top guys are tied up. But at the same time, as you could have went up there and went into the tournament yourself. But we all know you didn't want Inoue, you didn't want to fight the likes of maybe Zolani Tete and all that sort of stuff. It's just pish. You know, last night was absolute proof of the fact. That okay, Smiddle can now say this. We've had a one world title fight on Sky Sports now, on regular Sky, but that last night was shit. And then they come out and say, "Oh, it was maybe because there was no atmosphere in the crowd and stuff like that." Fucking bullshit! You're a world champion. Get out there and fucking prove it. Sorry for ranting, but no. To get up and watch that again last night, it was just awful. And as I say, talk about unification fights, but didn't actually call out fighters' names or try to make these fights. You've got your promoter who's got a supposed $1 billion contract to make these fights, and you kind of get super flyweights who, by the way, are not really all that expensive to bring on board to actually make fights, and you still kind of make these fights. What the fuck is going on here?
Andy, if you think this is bad, what about this Matchroom Italy card that's coming?
Oh man. We'll leave my rage for that one for later on, mate. I'm going to have a aneurysm at this point.
I want to back Andy up on this Khalid Yafai shit, and it's hard to tell how involved he is in the picking of his opponents, or if he's just simply complicit in the Sky machine. But I can remember back when Gonzalez was still like roughly prime, beating the absolute shit out of Brian Valoria, and the Sky people were like, "Oh, Brian Valoria, there's a name for Kal Yafai." Of course, they didn't mention the guy who was beating him up And even when I think Gonzalez took his first loss, they still weren't. They were talking about guys on the undercard for Yafai. It's just they've never wanted it until now. Now that he's been iced cold, and I think that it's not an easy fight either for Yafai, because I think Gonzalez isn't totally gone. I think he's still got a chance in this fight. But it's just absolutely irritating that they just feel like making the fight now that he's clearly faded, clearly way far from the guy he once was, and that's the only reason that they're trying to make this fight. So it would be really irritating if Gonzalez does lose.
Dave, putting that to one side, but what about your man Michael Hunter dropping L's on Martin Bakole and now the beastly Alexander Ustinov as well? He's doing well, isn't he, old Hunter?
Yeah. This is, I guess, a stay active fight, so he's getting a payday here. It was mostly heavy bag work. Maybe it'll get him a little more seasoned and accustomed to the heavyweight division. I'm sure Bakole was probably a tougher ask, honestly, than what Ustinov offered. Ustinov's an experienced guy, though, but he's old and slow as hell. He just got punched in the face. What Michael Hunter reminds me of is like a light heavyweight Sean Porter almost. He likes to get inside. He likes to wing punches from awkward angles, make things a little messy, maul a little bit. Differences, I would say, is he's less fit than Porter, possibly as he does have a good chin, but he does seem to gas at times. Also, does seem to be perhaps more skilled than Sean Porter as far as at least landing punches accurately, setting up shots. I like watching him. He's fun to watch. More fun to watch than Sean Porter for me. And he's gotten 2 heavyweight KOs, which, it's not great, but he did it quicker than Pulev did to Ustinov. Of course, that was a couple years ago. Char couldn't finish Ustinov, and that was just last fight. So, I mean, Char is shit, though, so it's not saying much. Maybe we see Michael Hunter against Char next. If he's going to keep this active, sure, why not fight these bums? Or not bums, but like journeyman, former contenders, that sort of thing. You can fight those guys and see what happens. Don't want him to rush along too much now because he's still got to get accustomed to the weight. He looked soft last night, and although I didn't see him gas like he did at times in the Bakole fight, he jiggled. I'd rather see him look a little bit more cut. But, I mean, a lot of heavyweights throughout history have never been like fully ripped and still have good gas tanks. Riddick Bowe, he was a soft fella. He had excellent gas tank, at least in some of his biggest performances. I guess he was known for gassing other times. But there have been, it's long been said, the absolute chiseled physique with a whole lot of muscle, that drains you a lot more than a little bit of flab and some fluid muscle will do.
Remember Gerald Nobles, Dave, the Jedi Warrior? He had an amazing set of tits on him.
I don't remember those titties.
Google that.
Would have been called Gerald No Bra.
Yeah, pretty much. Is that all you saw from that card then, was Mr. Hunter?
That's all I saw the whole weekend, is Hunter beating up on Ustinov.
Yeah, I've got to apologise for actually giving Hunter a wee bit more credit. I didn't even speak about him because I was raging about that other shit that was done well. I mean, obviously Ustinov's seen better days, but he couldn't miss him with that right hand and left hook. And obviously Ustinov's trying to use his size and his weight and trying to lean on top of him and stuff. But fair play to Hunter. That's 2 successive knockouts, quite back to back, very quick. I don't know what to do with him next. Actually, I mean, I like to see him. I think we say that after Bakole. I like to see him stay at cruiserweight, but obviously if he's going to compete at heavyweight, it's going to be bigger money, bigger risks and stuff. But it's clear that the size difference is going to be a bit of a problem. So if he can in any sort of way stay at cruiserweight, I'd like to see him do it.
Yeah, Hunter. I saw a tweet by Billy Nelson the other day. Actually, a posthumous tweet, I suppose it was. Or no, it was before the Hunter fight. Actually, someone had been slagging off Billy and saying, "Oh, Hunter's going to beat Bakole," and Billy said something like, "Oh, if he brings his mates and a baseball bat with him." Obviously, he didn't need his mates or a baseball bat to get the win on the night. I think maybe Billy has suffered enough. Talking of suffering, Ashley Theophane's career is still going on. He's 44-8-1. He's fighting out in Poland next weekend against Bakitiar Izgandozada, 11-15. This is on the undercard of Thomas Piccirillo against Camille Tran Fan. I'm not making this up, by the way. The vacant German international GBA middleweight title is on the line. Ashley Theophane,
Middleweight.
Andy. The main event. Sorry, is the middleweight
right.
is the middleweight title. I'm just saying it's between a 4-1 guy, a 4-1 guy, and a 2-1 guy. And Ashley Theophane is on the undercard in an 8-rounder, so he's still plugging along.
Well, fair play to him. I was actually on a title watch today. Actually, there was I need to go and dig it up, but it's next Saturday. I think it's some sort of GBA World welterweight title fight. I think it's on or something like that. So I need to go and try and dig that title fight up. Actually,
you might have to dig up the competitors while you're at it for something of that repute. Gabe, let's dig you up, shall we? Out in Texas, did you see anything, Gabe, of the Monte Carlo card, or do you want to move straight on to Bivol, Pascal?
I didn't see anything from Monte Carlo, and I didn't have time to watch the Pascal card. I was in Dallas last night. We didn't get back until pretty early this morning. So,
no problem, Gabe. I'm going to open up the floor to you, and you can talk about whatever you want then.
Well, I wanted to see how you guys thought Lebedev looked last night. He's always been a guy that I've enjoyed watching. I don't know that a lot of people would consider him to be a spectacular fighter, but always puts on, I think, quality fights. I mean, not in terms of the most meaningful events or anything like that, but I mean, I just have a good time whenever I watch his fights, which, isn't always as frequently as we probably like them to be. And then the other thing is kind of a I guess a contrast to the stuff we've already talked about with Matchroom and their lack of top quality fights, competitive matchups with guys that we want to see unifying titles and so on. There's a shitload of boxing content out there right now, and a lot of it's coming from Matchroom and the Zone setup. I mean, I don't remember having this consistently high amount of material to watch week in and week out. I think that Matchroom card or the Monte Carlo card was on the Zone. I didn't look at it to see. But between that by itself, and then if Showtime or anyone else is airing a card, which they'll pick back up again shortly, I assume. I mean, there's a lot of content. So I do appreciate it. The amount of content we're getting. I just wish, like you guys have already said, Andy specifically, that there was some more high quality stuff. But anyway, back to question. How did Lebedev look last night?
We don't know. Nobody saw it. So, I mean, no idea, Gabe, to be honest with you.
Well, then I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to do a Texas Tornado special on how did Lebedev look last night in Monte Carlo.
See, I've been thinking about Lebedev. I was thinking about him last night. He hasn't looked like a killer since the very excellent and thrilling, but sadly marred by PED use fight with what's his name, Guillermo Jones. Yeah, it was a tremendous fight, but yeah, I mean that his career ended really after that. I think as his career is like this beast, and he's not getting any prettier, is he?
It's certainly not. Gabe, I don't know how pretty you are looking at the moment, but I do want to ask you one thing. You mentioned about DAZN there. Obviously, you're getting charged like $10 a month or whatever it is for it. You've also got the Electronic Sports Participation Network, which is $5 a month. HBO's gone by the wayside. Showtime looks like it's going that way. Fox has come into play with the PBC. The point is, Gabe, things are changing television-wise over in the States. Are you a subscriber to any of these new networks? How do you find the new streaming thing?
I'm not sure on terms of how I feel about it. I'll tell you what I have right now. I do have the ESPN Plus sub. I still have my Showtime on, which is not. It doesn't come out to much extra per month, but enough that if it goes off, then it'll be a pleasant little uptick, maybe a ribeye steak a month. And then I do have the Zone, but it's on free right now on you get the first month free. So after that, it'll go to the $10.99 sub thing. I don't know. I think this whole thing is kind of a microcosm of the way that younger generations do things. Excuse me, I had to get a drink for a second there.
That's all right.
If it seems like young people today, I've looked at different statistics. So I've got a point. I'll bring it all back around. But younger people, I don't know about across the globe, but in the States specifically, statistically, younger people are not buying homes at the same rate that they used to. Their purchases are more subscription based. I mean, think about it. People thought it was revolutionary when we had iTunes and could download all our songs, and they don't really do that anymore. I don't know anyone that actually really uses iTunes, except for my mom and dad still, because they have their library all saved on their computers or whatever. It seems like everything's going to streaming. You have your music streaming, now your television's getting streamed more and more frequently. The only issue that I have with it is that some people like myself, and I agree that there's not as many of us, but we live in rural areas and it's kind of hard to get a great internet signal. I've got the top that I can get, and it's still, if everybody in my house is on their device and going hard streaming videos and stuff, it'll get kind of choppy and stuff. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, because I guess it's just something that changes and there's nothing I can do about it. So I guess I've got to kind of jump on board with it. I don't necessarily like it. I'm kind of still more of if I pay for something, I want something tangible for it. I don't like to pay to download a new CD or whatever. I like to have that physical thing in my hands. So for me, it's kind of a mixed thing. I mean, I understand it. The ease of access to it is fairly good, because even if you couldn't afford a here in the States, we have like DirecTV or Dish Network, which are our big television providers. And then, they have other ones in various areas. These are two satellite providers. But if you can't afford a base package with them, which is maybe $40-$50 a month, you can easily throw in your $10 a month The Zone sub, or your $5.99 ESPN sub. So I think there's some really good things about it. I would prefer just to be able to flip it on the TV and just go and not have to worry about going on to whatever device I have it on, because some devices don't work with certain things. I think that everything here is pretty good, but I watch The Zone on my computer. I don't even know if I can get it on my television, my smart TV. If there's a smart TV app that I have to download or whatever, it gets, technically for me, it's a pain in the ass. But I guess I don't really mind it so much, so it's kind of mixed for me.
Thanks for that, Gabe. Things are certainly changing. HBO is out of the game. Rapping Rob Kelly, you're very much in the game. As we see HBO disappearing, obviously the likes of Golovkin, Canelo have moved on. Also, Dimitri Bivol will be moving on. He pretty much dominated John Pascal as we expected for the majority of the fight last night. You can talk about the fight if you want, Rob, Bivol Pascal, but more to the point, where's Bivol going to end up now, do you think, contractually, and where would you like to see him go next?
I have a feeling he's going to go to DAZN, because I've heard Eddie mention his name a couple of times. In terms of the fight, like Bivol's one of the guys I've been rooting for based on his style. But as usual with guys, if I like their style, they're normally hard to please to the masses. I think he has everything. He has flashy combinations. He has the Eastern European style with a bit of the American style thrown in there. He's always very relaxed in the ring. Total boxer, can bang a little bit. And Max made a good point at the end of the fight last night. Against Agnew, Isaac Chilemba, and Jean Pascal, who are kind of the second tier of the light heavyweights. He's had 36 rounds and he's barely lost a round. But at the same time, I feel he's missed the boat a little bit to become a breakout star. It's funny the way things go in the sport. It can be highs and lows, swings and roundabouts or whatever. He was looked on course to fight Kovalev, and I think that's a fight he was capable of making himself a breakout star, but Alvarez got in there and stole his thunder. So now it's a little bit, where does he go? And I heard he's been talking about going maybe down to 168 if he can't get a unification up at 75. So that kind of maybe shows he's not too big at the weight. But I really like Bivol, man. I think, and he's making the effort to learn English and everything. I really like him. I think he's got everything. I just don't see him being a big attraction in the near future. One, because of matchups, and two, because he's not putting people to sleep.
I think you made a good point, Rob, about Eddie courting him. Do you remember? I know obviously we had the Monte Carlo show last night, but it was Bivol against Trent Broadhurst turned up randomly in Monte Carlo, didn't he?
Yes. And he's had his eye on him for a while, definitely. Like, but I don't know now, like whether he'll be as. I don't know if it's if Bivol is going to be able to command the fees he could have done if he really had a breakout performance on HBO. But I'm rooting for, and I suppose encapsulate in the end, like. For great to watch, and I'd watch him all day, but I just want to see him against better opposition than Pascal, who's washed 5 years ago or 3. And Isaac Chilemba. Like, I just want to see him against tough guys. Now I know obviously the Kovalev fight can't happen. There's a rematch clause there, but there's other fighters kind of sitting around 175 like that can't be made now, that couldn't have been made previously due to contractual things. And I think he probably get his chance against one. I don't know who did it, or whoever it was. Credit to the guy. He was like, "Badu Jack is ready to hand my man Bivol a draw."
Very good. Some wise guy on Twitter come off with that, did they?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like, but I don't know what did you. I mean, I think the fight kind of went like we expected, didn't it?
What about Monte Carlo, Rob? Did you get to see anything last night? Frank Buglioni?
Well, listen. I tuned in to see Frank Buglioni and I heard he wasn't on. Oh, obviously the pod has more power than we're giving ourselves credit for, because we got Buglioni out of Saturday nights. Just hope Yafai follows soon after. Saw a bit of the fight, man. You know, that wouldn't really interest me enough, to be honest with you. So I don't want to say too much derogatory things about it. It wouldn't be my bag.
Say it, Rob. Say it. I say that. Say it.
I from what I saw, like, the decision looks stinking. Like, so. You know, surprise, we're in the situation where we're talking about a bad decision again. Like, I never thought Yafai was much. I still don't think he's much like him, and I'd say Chocolatito, even at this stage of his career, could bust him up. Like, so that's his. I suppose. What does that say about where Yafai is at now? Like, you know what I mean?
If that were to happen, it would be better than pure sex, mate.
Aye. It's like
hey, I don't know if any of you guys have seen.
That time when you just get your tadger in for the first time, didn't really want to wear a Johnny, and that you just get it. It's better than pure sex, man.
When he said, I was listening to that a few weeks ago. Don't even ask me why. I was listening to that exact segment. I was fucking rolling around the place laughing. Fucking hell. Yeah, but yeah. So, well, I suppose it would compare to that if we could see after I get smashed up by Chocolatito. Very few fights are coming close to that for me, though. I got to be honest with you.
Gabriel, did you want to add something in there?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen Chocolatito against Pedro Guevara. Chocolatito was pulled out with a knee injury.
Oh, is he?
That's what they're saying on ESPN.com.
Right now?
What's that?
Is that news just come out, yeah?
I'm not sure when I didn't check the time on it.
When it said 48 minutes ago, it just said it's come out. Dan Raphael just stated that.
Said he had a knee injury previously in camp and he just couldn't quite get past it. So I think he's about done for, fellas. I think his body's busting up on him too.
According to Lawford, he got hurt last week and got therapy and a cortisone shot, but his knee didn't respond. He's going to have arthroscopic surgery on it. So, fuck's sake.
No wonder Matchroom wants him so bad right now.
Yeah.
Bring him in a wheelchair, getting pushed by Sergio Martinez. With Jorge Sebastian Highland on crutches behind him.
Oh, no.
Speaking of Sergio, did I hear we're seeing him back with Darren Barker?
No, that was false news.
Well, it was posted by Benson, so.
Was it fake news that? Yeah, I fell for that one.
It's a dummy account.
Yeah, I fell for that one. What a moron.
The real announcement's coming soon, though, boys. Andy, tell me about the Atlantic City card last night from your point of view. Bivol, Pascal, obviously, but also what about this Sergey Kuzmin? I mean, Laron Mitchell, despite his bloated record, wasn't any great shakes, was he? We've seen Kuzmin in against David Price as well. Any value in him? We all love a heavyweight.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, he has got a bit of dig about him. That he's a big lump at 6'5" or something like that. But again, this is another one. He's not really fought anybody, has he? I couldn't even tell you actually any even decent wins in his record. I mean, Price it was basically a non kind of runner, really, that fight. Okay, he was losing the fight, I suppose, in some of the cards, but I really don't know, mate. I really don't know where he's going to be in the grand scheme of things. I know he's up in age and that as well. Maybe left it too long to turn over after being like such a long-standing amateur and stuff. But I'll probably say I'll go as far and say that he will probably get a title shot at some point down the line, be it whoever's going to be the champion at that point. But there's not going to be any great money in this guy at any point in the future. Like.
And what about Bivol? Obviously, they were setting up to fight Kovalev. Kovalev got beaten, which was really unfortunate because I think HBO would have probably pushed on and made that fight. For some reason, Andy, I know this is sounds stupid, but Bivol, Rob mentioned earlier about him maybe moving down to 168. He does look small. I would imagine him being dwarfed by Alvarez for some reason because Alvarez looks so bloody big.
Yeah, he's a big guy, Alvarez. I was agreeing with what Rob was saying as he signed off with what he was saying about that fight. He's not really got the power. Can you imagine that guy if he had like Kovalev type power? I think the sky's been the limit for this guy actually. Again, I suppose he's got his own career kind of in his own hands at the minute. He's got his pick. Eddie's probably going to make a sniffing around about in that as well. But I see Badil Jack's calling him out as well, so that would be a fight that I would definitely love to see. Film that, maybe some unifications and that. But I really don't know whether he wants to go down to 168. I mean, is it him that's talking about moving to 168? Or
I don't know.
But because 168 is kind of really.
I think it was him. Yeah, I think he said they presented him with the scenario of where the landscape lies at the moment with 75, and he was like, "I go to 68 if I need to unite titles." So. Who knows?
To be brutally honest, apart from the champions and that, it's very, very thin. I mean, okay, Groves is ready for the exit door. So is the Gale. Eubank floating around in that, but really, do you really want to see Eubank get another chance against a world ranked fighter when he's not really earned it? Anthony Durrell's kind of hanging about, and I think he's fighting.
What? You're trying to tell me that a win against JJ McDonough doesn't qualify him for a shot at Bivol? Come on now, Andy.
Well,
JJ hurt his hand, cheated, not defeated.
He wasn't one bit afraid of him either, by the way. He wasn't one bit afraid of Chris. Just make that known.
It took him out on the cobbles.
Building the fight and wanted to fight him right there and then. Fucking fraud.
Anthony Durrell, Andy's fighting Mr. Robot, isn't he?
That's who it is, aye. Yeah, Yildirim, aye. So I mean, unless you want to see Bivol come down and fight, like say your, I don't know, Zach Parker's and Jesse Hart and all that type of thing. I didn't want to see him fight the guys. I want to see him stay. I want to see him fight Beterbiev or Alvarez or Badou Jack, as I say, Sullivan Barrera and all type of guys. These are fights you want to see happen. I mean, I think at the time. So early on this year, we had the WBSS series coming off, and that we wanted to see the light heavyweight division be one of the new ones for Series 2 because it's been one of the divisions that's just bitching to be unified and get one standing champion, but this isn't going to happen for some reason. But who knows? Bivol, as I say, is a good fighter, very, very good fighter, but just that wee, I don't know if I'm right in saying he's just maybe got that lack of killer instinct or just hasn't really got that power, but it might come, as you say. Maybe if he moved down in weight, the power might come. But who knows? As I say, he's technically proficient, but going to really.
It's just a bit of a hard sell, Andy, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just a bit of a hard sell to the wider. Like everyone here loves watching him, but it's just to the general public. And if you're looking for breakout Eastern European stars, he's kind of, even as they go, he's kind of far down the list, isn't he?
It's a bit like, I suppose. Again, it's probably a bad analogy, but if you say he's a bit like Golovkin. 1, he's learning English. 2, he's a foreigner, and 3, he's trying to kind of break out in America. At least with Golovkin, he had the power to kind of really keep the kind of networks and the kind of maybe the casual observer kind of keep the eye on it and stuff like that. He hasn't really got that, and I think he's going to really struggle to kind of really draw us in. In all honesty, I mean, I have found some of the fights to be kind of difficult to watch because it can be a wee bit kind of rinse and repeat, in my opinion.
Hey, today, final comment to you. Rather than talking about Bivol, let's talk about Jean Pascal, shall we? I have a little bit of a theory about Pascal. I'm actually a little bit concerned about him. I think he's one of these guys who's maybe taken a bit too much punishment throughout his career now. And he keeps on getting these decisions or these competitive enough performances to sort of keep him relevant, and people keep throwing him in. So he got knocked out by Sergey Kovalev in 2015, which was pretty brutal. Then he had a hell of a fight, Dave, against Yunieski Gonzalez. in the same year as well, which is just a few months later. Then he got retired by Kovalev. Then he had this fight with Romalo, which I seem to remember was a bit farcical. Then he went to majority decision with Eleider Alvarez. So again, people are thinking, oh, maybe he's got something left, Pascal. And then the fight, which I think is really smoke and mirrors, he knocked out 16-0 Ahmed El Biali, who was basically a bit shit. But people are saying, oh, look, Pascal, he's still got something left. He's knocked out this 16-0 guy. And then he's been competitive again with Bivol last night. Am I maybe being a bit paranoid, Dave? Should Pascal hang up the gloves, or do you think he generally has something still left to offer?
He's got himself a hard head. He's always had that. And I'm not really convinced how much damage is being done up there. He never seemed to be the brightest guy ever, and I could never understand him as it was. I don't know how much of that is due to his French-Canadian accent or just because he was already brain damaged like a long time ago. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna wave the flag. It's not like Roy Jones where he's getting iced every day. Like the semi-competitive, I mean, that, as far as I'm concerned, that means, it's a shit fight to make. Like, I don't want to see him fight guys like Bivol. But if he wants to like compete at like journeyman level, just like get a few wins here and there in front of his obviously like loyal Canadian crowd, they're always going to pay to see him. Like, get a knockout here or there, stick him on a card somewhere, make some money. I mean, I got no problem with that. Like, he can knock out some bums, and that's what I would do if I were him. Spend the rest of my career doing that. I don't know what his ambition is as far as like, does he think he's going to be the man again? Because believe it or not, crazily enough, as limited as he is, as weird of a fighter as he is, and even though he gasses in 4 rounds, he was once the lineal light heavyweight champion of the world, which is crazy, but that was him. I would say it's like he's done from those lofty heights, but he can still make money, and I would do that if I were him.
Yeah, Gabe, Dave makes a point there, but that's the thing. He's not fighting against these journeymen, is he? He's fighting up at the lofty heights, and he's coming off second best repeatedly. What do you think about my level of concern, Gabe? Do you think that, he's got badly, is he badly damaged, or is he just French Canadian, as Dave said?
I think it is a lot more, whenever I listen to him and stuff, the fact that he's always been a little bit hard to understand. His accent's always been very thick. And so it's hard to sort exactly what it is he's saying at times when he's speaking in English. I don't know French, so for me to have an opinion on that, I guess would be a little bit pointless. But I think that overall, I still don't think he's done. I still think he can have some good fights and do some fairly good business. Like Dave said, still make some money, because I think he just has to be matched right. He can't be matched with a guy that's going to throw a lot of combinations and that's going to have a high activity rate or anything along those lines. He's never been a guy with a good gas tank. Never. I don't remember ever seeing him and thinking, wow, this guy's got what it takes to consistently go distance fights time and time again. He just doesn't have it. So, in my opinion, I don't think he's completely washed up yet. I think he's not top tier level. I think he's a guy that can beat some young up and comers and some guys who are maybe talented but have some flaws. And he could be a good test of some young guys who think they might have what it takes to be a big-time champion. But I definitely don't think he's washed up. I think that he still has a little bit of time left to make some money, and he should go do that.
Yep, still time for Pascal, said the boys. He shall be recycled a few more times. We've got the big one coming up later on. Don't forget Wilder versus Fury, plus other fights of interest next week, including Gvozdyk against Stevenson, also Mundine against Horn. We'll be coming on to those very shortly. This is episode 301 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse Podcast. Dave the Hater Lowback is with us. Andy Patterson is on the call. Rob Kelly and Gabe Lewis as well. Diego Chavez got a win on Friday night, knocking out Jean Carlos Prada in the second round. No doubt Chavez will probably be brought over to America at some point as fodder soon. Bilal Reckman also got a good 10-round points win over Lee Appleyard up in Doncaster on one of the Steffi Bull shows. Reckman was supposed to fight. I think it was Danny Wright, wasn't it? Danny had to pull out though with an injury at one point. He was on our show, Danny Wright. So maybe they can get that on at some point in the future. And also, we'll get a word from you, Andy. I'm sure you'll be delighted to throw in on this one. I don't even know where you would start, to be honest with you. New Zealand on Saturday night, Junior Patty, more like Junior Fatty, 12, 22 and 1. An 8-rounder got knocked out in the 5th round by the comparatively anorexic Lucas Browne. And this was an 8-rounder, Andy, but the vacant WBC Asian boxing silver heavyweight title was on the line. Where do you even start with this shitfest?
We don't. We can just flip right past it, mate, if you want.
Nearly £500 they weighed between the two of them.
Well, that's nothing, mate. Look at the other fight on that card, Conrad Lamb, £434.25. My fucking God.
Conrad Lamb looked like Dave and what's Big Baby Miller were having a fight under a tent. That's what his body looked like.
Oh my word! He was, as I say, I've seen the fight come up on YouTube and that. So
speaking of fat ass,
I've stuck on watch later. But as I say, Lucas Browne is a sad state of affairs if when he's winning like the all 4 rounds, 40-36, and he ices the guy 12, 22 and 1. Oh, Eddie Hearn's just kind of wait to recycle this guy. Like, by the way, that was a vacant title he fought for as well. 8 rounds. Thank you, WBC.
I can't even believe that on the undercard. So you've got £246 Hemi Ahio going in against £434 Conrad Lamb. So that is a combined total, hey today, because I know you wanted to jump in on this one, £680 they weighed in together, Ahio and Conrad Lamb.
That must have been
£680.
That ring must have been reinforced steel with concrete.
Terry O'Connor as the referee.
Oh, fuck, man.
They make Gerald Nobles look skinny. But speaking of Gerald Nobles, I just looked up the picture of him. I haven't seen a Jedi with a pair of tits that nice since Daisy Ridley.
Oh man, yeah, Gerald Nobles, right? Yeah, he fought the Beast from the East, actually, Nikolai Valuev at one point. He had skills, Nobles, but he had a right cracking set on him. I don't know why he wasn't any better, or maybe it's genetic. I don't know.
A cracking setting is called No Balls. Okay.
Right, okay, boys, let's move on, shall we? Let's stay in Australia, actually. Let's go on to next week. Who should we go to? I'm going to go to you on this one, Dave. I'm going to go to Dave on this one because I know that Dave likes a bit of Jeff Horn. 18-1-1, and he's going in against Anthony Mundine. I tell you what, Dave, say what you like about Mundine. I know there's a lot of detractors. He says a lot of things, blah, blah, blah. But this guy must have made some money from the sport. And he didn't even start off as a boxer. He's well into his 40s now. He's back down at middleweight. He's going in against Jeff Horn. Anthony Mundine. I tell you what, Dave, are you a fan like me?
So Horn's going up to middle. I mean, I know he's a big welter, but this is shit. This is just shit in every way. Like, you got an old guy. You got a shit guy. Well, you got 2 shit guys, really. You got a guy who's too small for the weight. It's just like, it's like the perfect combination of factors, like between both of them being terrible, that will make this fight maybe competitive and watchable. I won't be watching it, but it might even be like a decent fight because of like how bad both of them are at this point in their careers and where at what weight they're fighting. Like, it's gonna be ugly, isn't it?
What do you think, Andy? Going to be ugly, or is it going to be a beautiful spectacle? No doubt. I haven't even checked. Oh, yeah. Is it on pay-per-view? It's bound to be on pay-per-view, isn't it?
It's I think it's on ESPN Plus in America, actually, for all you Yanks and stuff. And it's Australia main events. I think it is pay-per-view. Mundine at 43 now. Jeff Horn, did you see him punch and fuck out that heavy bag and split it in 2? I actually broke off. He's obviously he's going to ice Mundine. I really don't know. I mean, end of the day, I mean, Mundine, as I say, he's 43. He's been forced to kind of come down from, what was he in his last fight? 175 against Danny Green and stuff. So he's obviously, he likes to fluctuate in that, but he should make the weight, no problem. This is the thing, it's at middleweight as well. It's a middleweight title fight. This is weird because, obviously Horn was, I thought he might have went to light middle and that. I don't know if it's maybe at a catch weight or something. I think it might be as well, but you got to think Horn's going to be too fresh and too ugly and just too gnarly for Mundine. But at the same time, Mundine maybe 5-6 years ago would probably been enough to kind of, if I built him, to kind of see him through it. But
you have to be a sad cunt to buy this.
Well, you need to be sad. You know, if I put it this way, you need to be a sad cunt to buy it in Australia and that. But you need to remember the poor cunts went out there in chains and fucking handcuffs and that. So it's sad as their name in the game out there. But
completely irrelevant.
I just want to see if I can get a few bites off that one. But no, I would expect Horn to win, probably on points. Mundine's generally durable. He's been stopped kind of latter half of his career. Charles Hartley, for example, and that. But I'll say Horn on points. I think it'll be an ugly, scrappy affair in that as well. And we'll get the usual Australian commentary. Oh, this is so very, very good. And that Mundine, Chalk Mundine? That's what they call him. Chalk Mundine. He's a legendary superstar of Australian boxing. And Jeff Horn and that young pretender. The shite you get off. You used to make Hall and Walk fucking look like they were fucking cheerleaders and that, man. These fuckers are unbelievable. But I'll go Horn and points. Mundine I think he's officially retiring after his fight, so there's a god after all.
Yeah, some good wins on the Mundine record. He schooled Danny Green in that first fight. He was schooling Sven Otka as well before Otka did something that he never did throughout his whole career, pretty much, and just laid somebody out cold. A few people were suspicious about that, but Mundine, he was a skilled boxer. His dad, Tony Mundine, was an excellent fighter as well. I think he went in with Carlos Monzon, didn't he, Andy?
Yeah, I think he stopped with Monzon. I think it was an 8 or 9 rounder, actually. I think he got stopped. And tough fighter was Tony Mundine,
Yeah, it certainly was. On the undercard as well, Cameron Hammond, 17-1. His one loss was to Chris George, who I believe went in with Josh Kelly. He's going in against Frank Rojas, 23-1. The one loss was a first-round knockout defeat to Jose Benavidez. So someone's going to have to show something in that fight if they're going to aspire towards world level. Shout out to our friends as well over at Big Right Hook. We had Lewis on last week talking about the second edition. Don't forget to go and hit the code Nuthouse for 10% off issue 2 of Big Right Hook. That's BIGWRITEHOOK, Big Right Hook. Type in Nuthouse and get 10% off issue 2. Good luck to Lewis and the boys over there. Right, good luck to you, Rob. Why are you saying that? Well, I'm going to bring you in on this Matchroom Italy card next Friday night. Before you run off, Rob, you've got Joe Hughes. We've seen him a few times going against Andrea Scarpa, who I believe, off the top of my head, might have fought O'Hara Davis at one point. You've got Devis Boschiero against Martin J. Ward. And they're actually advertising this like it's a good thing. Tony Conquest headlining against Fabio Turci. Where do you even start with this?
Is Malinaggi the face of Matchroom Italy?
I don't know.
Because if not, he should be. Where's your balls, Connor? Come on. No, I couldn't give a shit about this card, Steve. What are you talking about? Like, for fuck's sake, the Matchroom Italy card. All right, yeah. Hold on. Hold tight.
Come on, Rob. Give us something positive.
Clear me schedule for Friday. I'm not going to watch that.
I'll give you something positive. First category HIV positive. That's
what I was just going to say. It's the Super AIDS, that one. Fucking hell. Matchroom Italy. As if, like, Eddie got a big map like Dad's Army and he's pointing out different fucking regions that he's going to take over. You know what's next? Italy next. Dun, dun, dun. Fuck off, will you?
Matchroom Latvia coming soon.
You are kidding, Mr. Eddie.
It's a big card. It's a big card. We got the Matchroom Italy. We got Matchroom Sicily coming up. We're taking over all the regions.
Well, what about some of the great fighters?
It's like Vince McMahon trying to take over the wrestling world back in the fucking 70s and that, wasn't it?
It's fucking brutal. Matchroom Italy. Why just call it Matchroom? Just call it Matchroom and have a card in Italy. You don't need a splinter group from Matchroom, all right? Matchroom Italy.
It's like the fucking IRA, man. It's fucking splinter groups. I
can't believe it's not Matchroom. We got them all.
Not Matchroom, but better.
For fuck's sake.
Come on, Rob. We've met some of the great Italian fighters of recent times. Maybe we can get Giuseppe Lauri on the card, Francesco Damiani, Michele Piccirillo.
Look, on a serious level, like wherever you are in the world, if you're a boxing fan, you want to have boxing in your home country. We're a bit starved of big events here for reasons unknown in Ireland at the moment. So I feel for anyone that can't get boxing cards in their home country. So it'll be good for the Italian fans to get to see some fights. But in terms of the quality on display, I won't be tuning in live anyway. I can guarantee that.
Big hell no from Roberto then. What about this, Gabe, on Friday night, November the 30th? Any better with you? Star Boxing, Joey DiGuardia, Ron Katz, who I believe had been on this show before. Actually, Ron was on with us before. Super lightweight, Chris Algieri. He's not just the nutrition man, the medicine man. He's actually making a return to the ring against Angel Hernandez. He should get rid of Hernandez. Where do you think he goes? Any interest in the Algieri hype train, Gabe?
No. I guess a little bit. I mean, just to see what happens, see where they'll put him next. Because if he does well in that fight and then does well, maybe one other, just a little lower tiered fight, I wouldn't think it was too impossible for them to put him on another card with a bigger name. We saw, I think Danny Garcia has a matchup with someone who, I forget who it is. Obviously, that tells you all you need to know about it there.
Oh, he's fighting Granados.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point of that? So I would see them using him in another fight because he's got some probably name recognition with a little bit bigger name as a stay busy type fight, or for PBC, a big time event. You know how they fucking do shit. So I think between that, just seeing what happens next with him, if he wins and looks decent, I expect to see him again. But for my sheer own purposes, no, I've never been a big fan of him. He's a lighter puncher than Paulie was, and he's not as much fun to watch either. And he doesn't even talk anywhere near the level of shit that Paulie does. So, nah, for me, I mean, if I don't have anything else to do, maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the PBC list soon. PBC have announced a lot of fights. I was typing into Google their PBC, actually, and the first thing that Google recommended to me was PBC. So maybe they've told you all you need to know about this new upcoming Fox schedule. Andy, I'm hitting you a bit left field with this one because I didn't even realise it was on either. Friday the 30th of November, show up in the Emirates Arena in Glasgow, Scotland. Lee Eaton, so I'm assuming it's an MTK thing. But a couple of fights of interest, actually. Lewis Benson, 10-1, going in against Tyrone McKenna, which could be a decent one. Joe Ham's on the undercard, so is David Brophy. And Ukashir Farouk, who's 10-0. British bantamweight title against your old mate Ian Butcher. There's a couple of decent looking scraps on this, actually.
Yeah, obviously Farouk's quietly coming through. Does look a decent enough wee fighter. Doesn't hit hard though. That's the only thing. Obviously, he's coming off a few. He's come off a few knockout victories or a couple of stoppages and stuff like that. But the only problem I would say with Butcher is he's up in weight again. You know, okay, he got beat off Charlie Edwards and that for the British. He was overweight for that fight. I think I was right in saying that anyway. But then he'd been kind of fluctuating between there and featherweight and stuff. So I really don't know if his heart's really in it anymore. And that. I know his brother listens to the podcast and that as well. I met him in Belfast at the Frampton Denier card and that. But again, as I say, I really don't know if he should up as high in weight or whether his heart's really in it at the minute. I mean, 26 and, you know, maybe he's fouled out. Maybe he's fully mature, fully kind of grown into a man now as such. So physically, maybe he's new at his peak. We'll wait and see. But I would need to say I would like to see him kind of win this fight because it would maybe just give his career a wee bit of kind of boost in that, because it's maybe need a wee bit of a boost in that, especially coming off that Kevin Satchel defeat, which was a number of years ago, and that it was a bad defeat to the point he probably won the fight, actually, in my opinion. So he's kind of obviously been kind of like mooching about trying to get another chance. And he took a bad L against one of the Hungarian guys who I think is maybe fighting next week for, you know, in Hungary somewhere. But
Kovacs, is it?
Yeah,
maybe?
I think so. Then obviously Charlie Edwards defeating that, so he's been kind of sticking the Browne about the kind of 6 rounders. He's got a win over Thomas and Sumba, who Lee McGregor beat actually a couple of weeks back, or a couple of months back actually. So I like to see Butch win this fight. Lewis Benson, this guy, he's been having some major injury problems. I think he's had problems with his back and that, or maybe his hand. I forget what it
hands,
is.
I think.
It's hands, aye. So I'd like to see where he's at. Actually, obviously, he's on the comeback trail after that defeat. I don't know if you're at this fight, Steve, when he got beat off Johnny Coyle.
Where was that?
It was at the It was at the SSE. What card was that on? It was on the night John O'Carroll beat Declan Garrity.
Oh yes, that's right. I was at that. Yeah. It was a good fight.
I did. Well, to say it was his kind of first fight back 5th of December. And that he said it kind of easy coming up and stuff. But as I say, he said a few problems and that, injuries. Tyrone McKenna, you'll know more about him than me. Joe Ham, it was touted very high as an amateur and that as well. Again, maybe just really kicked on as well. Took an L against Tyrone McCullough, I think it was.
Yeah, that's right.
The other thing as well is some people might not know about this kid making his pro debut, Rhys McFadden.
Mm-hmm.
Rhys was the one who actually beat Selby in the Commonwealth first round of the Commonwealth Games. I think it was Andrew Selby. I was Andrew Selby he beat. That was when Selby apparently went back home to Wales, pissed from the plane, causing nuisance to himself. So it'll be interesting to see how McFadden breaks it into the pro ranks. He's kicking off as a bantamweight. And Brophy, obviously, as well. No signing opponent yet. I dare say that will get announced maybe late on next week in that. But I think for Brophy this time, he's also up in age now, and that, so it's probably another pass, I would imagine, at the British, maybe the Commonwealth title, and see where he goes for there and that. But he's, coming off that fielding fight, for example, and that, he just, again, it's just like, I don't know if it's like the bright lights for Brophy. I don't know what it is. But I remember he's fighting Australia against Zach Dunn, done pretty well, and that really kind of put the business on him. But just hasn't really kind of kicked on for there. So again, we're not going to expect great shakes for this opponent and stuff. That's a keep busy fight. We all know this, but you would think next year they're going to have to start making a kind of serious pass. Maybe try and get the Zach Parker fight, or maybe even get Darrell Williams, who, in my opinion, should be British champion and should be deserving of another big chance. So Brophy maybe have to kind of earn that fight as well, probably.
Yeah, just on an interesting side note, just looking up and down Ukashia Farouk's record, he went in 2017 with ubiquitous Ghanaian journeyman Michael Barnor. I remember seeing him once fight in the Devonish in Belfast, and he could not stay on his feet. His shoes were that bad, his trainers. They had to put masking tape on the bottom of them to keep him upright. And a friend of the pod, David Mohan, told me recently, look on BoxRec, his nickname is now The Shoe. So I don't know whether he's adopted that or whether some rogue BoxRec editor has put it in.
I remember that. They did not try to slice his shoes and try and make some sort of kind of grips on them, and then that didn't work, so they ended up putting tape around about them and stuff like that. I remember that. It
was bonkers. It really was a strange situation. So maybe he could do with a pair of Dave Allen's Carrymores anyway, who knows. Right, Rob, you think that we've talked enough about Tony Bellew? Think again. Mark DH18 has thrown in a Bellew question, Rob, just for you. He says, Bellew out of retirement later down the line seems inevitable, but who against? Not a great deal they could match him with for pay-per-view, or is there, Rob? What do you think about Bellew coming back in maybe a year or two's time?
I think there's fights for him, but I'd be surprised to see him back, even though he does like the limelight. He did a nice retirement announcement this week, a nice video, and I'd like to thank Tony as well for acknowledging us in his retirement video, because he said all his fans and all the negative naysayers, even them, he wants to thank all of us. So thank you to you, Tony, as well. I wouldn't like to see him back, dude. I think he's I said after the Usyk fight, I've admiration for him for the money that he's made in the sport, for a guy with the ability that he has, and it kind of remind me of the Dave Allen situation. He's the darling of Sky and Matchroom, if he could put it together. Like Bellew, whatever you say about him, he definitely lived his life right. But I wouldn't be going home to the missus and telling her I'm having another fight if I was him. She seems like she's calling the shots there in that one. And he doesn't need the money, man. He's made good money. I wouldn't like to see him back. In all honesty, I wouldn't like to see him back, because that knockout was a brutal knockout, and you wouldn't like to see him come back after 2 years of inactivity and try and take it up. I have no doubt if Derek Chisora is still floating around in 18 months, that's a fight that could be made. Big table flippers, David Hay element in there as well, of course, almost like Apollo and Rocky coming back. So there's fights out there for him, but I'd be surprised to see him back.
Yeah, I thought the same as Rob, to be honest. I thought that was him done and he wouldn't come back because of the wife and everything, but quite a few people have talked about Bellew inevitably coming back and cashing in again, so you never know. I suppose he might do. Right, there are obviously Fury Wilder's the big one next week, but there's also an interesting main event. The undercard isn't up to much in Canada, Quebec. Adonis Stevenson defending his WBC light heavyweight title against Alexander Gvozdyk. On the undercard, how about this for a name? Diodon Wilfred Say Nsengu. Hope he wins with a name like that. That's an absolute belter, isn't it? Anyway, forget about that. Hater Dave Lowback. To be honest with you, I was impressed with Gvozdyk on the way up to a certain point, and then I think it was the Tommy Carpensi fight. I saw him getting dropped, and he wasn't really that impressive. And I thought to myself, I'm not sure about Gvozdyk, and I think he might be a little bit chinny, to be honest with you. So I'm still looking forward to the fight. I think Gvozdyk will give a good go, but I think as soon as Stevenson lands hard and flush on Gvozdyk, Dave, I could see Gvozdyk going, to be honest with you. I think that Adonis might win this one a little bit easier than some people think. What do you think, Dave?
Sorry, I was just watching the shitty fat ref in the Ustinov-Hunter fight. I don't like him. What was the question?
The question was, I was talking about Gvozdyk challenging Stevenson, and on paper it's interesting. I'm still looking forward to it, but I've gone off Gvozdyk a little bit, and I think Stevenson's going to knock him out, and possibly pretty early on. What do you say?
Yeah, I don't think that fight's going the distance either way. I kind of do lean towards Stevenson because he showed he had a little bit more left than I thought against Bellew Jack. That was a very close fight. I did think Jack won, and another fight that I think Jack won and got a draw in. It happens constantly, I think. But I would prefer, honestly, to see that rematch because it was a fun fight. It was a good competitive fight. I'd rather see Jack get that lineal title than Gvozdyk. I think Gvozdyk is probably a little chinny, maybe a little open to be hit. But it's not a bad fight because he can also punch. He's dangerous. Stevenson himself is old and not the most resilient guy in there either. You know, he also has stamina issues. So it's definitely a matchup of two very vulnerable guys. And I think it should be fun to watch while it lasts.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a firefight, Andy. I think Gvozdyk's going to bring it and they're going to proper go at each other. You could see maybe even both men going down. But I think Gvozdyk's getting slept in 5 or 6 rounds. I honestly do.
I don't know. I mean, this is obviously I'm going off his last fight. Who was that guy? Was it Amar or Amir, whatever his fucking name was? Didn't he really? Okay, he won the fight quite handedly in that, but he didn't really impress me as much. Okay, I would probably say I don't know. Maybe last year is it was maybe because he was fighting 3-4 fights and stuff. Coming into the fight and that, but I think he's left it kind of late to turn over. He's I would say he's got good punching power in the left hook, especially capable kind of to the body and that. But and he kind of works well behind the jab and that. But I can agree with what Dave was saying. As Stevenson did surprise me a little bit as well. Against Jack, he did show that he'd have a wee bit left. It was a decent enough fight, wasn't it? You know, he kind of obviously kind of left it late each other and that, but I did think the momentum just kind of just all of a sudden just kind of moved, and Jack was forced into he hurt Stevenson more and he kind of put him in the back foot, but I probably need to kind of have a slightly more think about it than that. But I just think Gvozdyk's a wee bit kind of sloppy with his own style, and Stevenson's kind of obviously he's up in age and that, but he has mixed with the kind of higher end opposition. Probably it is a difficult pick. I'm going to go Stevenson. I just think if it is going to be a close fight, it is going to go in the cards and stuff. It is in Canada. I would think Stevenson would probably get the nod, or at worst, he'll probably get a draw. I think Gvozdyk, as I say, he has been sloppy, has shown to be sloppy. Going to have to be, unless again we could be talking right out our arses here, and Stevenson's just got way overnight, and and it shows up in this fight. I just don't think so. And again, as well as if it's one thing, we all know this. We all know this, that the power's the last thing to go, and if Stevenson can uncork the left hand, he's going to drop Gvozdyk. You would think that at least. Lesser opponents have had him on the floor, so I'll probably say Stevenson, probably on points. But I know what you're saying as well. You guys are thinking maybe stoppage and that, but I'll go Stevenson on points.
One of the best Gvozdyk wins, Gabe, that I was forgetting about was actually the fight with the aforementioned Yunieski Gonzalez. That was a really good win for Gvozdyk. I don't think he's going to go out of this fight easily. I think he will go for Stevenson, but I think Stevenson's fast and he's quicker to the punch, and Gvozdyk's chin isn't the toughest around. So I just think Stevenson's going to land hard and flush, and it's going to be all over. But saying that, Stevenson, as Andy said, if the fight goes late, he's also had his sort of chin issues, but really more stamina issues in the past as well. So Gvozdyk definitely has a big puncher's chance. It's a good fight, Gabe.
Yeah, I think it is a good fight. I I'm probably going to go similar to Andy, except I'm going to take it with a late stoppage, if not points, for Stevenson. Just think I think he's gonna bust him up a little bit. I think he's gonna eventually get to him and put him down. And I think that's gonna be all she wrote. I was trying to think back at the Gonzalez fight. Gonzalez just didn't do a whole lot, if I remember correctly. Just kind of looked content to just not really do a whole lot. Wasn't very active. Just didn't look sharp either. But either way, whether he did or didn't, I still don't think it would have been. I mean, it would have changed my opinion on how this fight goes. I think we know what each fighter brings to the table, and I think we know fairly well what their strengths are and how they kind of counteract each other. So yeah, I'm going to go with Stevenson on a late stoppage or points.
Thing is with Stevenson, Rob, it took so long for us to get these, decent opponents. He fought Badou Jack, and then a lot of people would have been happy seeing the rematch. I know I would have been, but the fact they put Gvozdyk in front of him, it's not like he's taken a lesser opponent. So fair play to him at this age. He's probably starting to re-step up again. We know he's had big fights in the past, but he's going to have to go over the hill at some point, isn't he? I mean, Stevenson, at the end of the day, Rob, he's not a young man.
Yeah, I think Gvozdyk definitely getting Stevenson at the right time. He's not going to get a better chance to beat Adonis Stevenson, but I think you make a good point in that. And Dave as well makes a good point that, look, we saw this guy against Badou Jack after writing him off for years, and he definitely showed something against a young lion, that he still has flashes of athleticism and definitely holds power still. So you could see him getting to Gvozdyk, maybe points with a couple of tumbles along the way. But I think, what we saw in the Badou Jack fight just kind of made us mad a little bit as hardcore fans of the sport, because if he hadn't ducked Kovalev, when you see how things transpired with Kovalev over his last couple of fights, you might think that version of Adonis Stevenson could have knocked Kovalev out, you know what I mean? Or Kovalev could have easily played with him a la Pascal too. But Adonis Stevenson was right in the fight there against Kovalev and could have knocked him out. So it's a pity we never got to see that one. But we're seeing him in some decent fights towards the very end here.
Yeah, I think they're stretching this one across the broadcast so it fits in with the Wilder Fury pay-per-view, which you're going to be moving on to now. Let's go for the undercard first of all. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, Dave, because it's pretty piss poor, to be honest. Although the main event, I suppose you could say, makes up for it. Robert Guerrero's returning at welterweight. I'm sure nobody is particularly looking forward to that against Adam Mate. I think he's one of these Hungarians as well. Chris Ariola's on the card. Joe Joyce against Joe Hanks, not Tom Hanks. Luis Ortiz against Travis Kaufman. God, it's pretty terrible, isn't it? This Mark Anthony Barriga, a minimum weight, a vacant title against Carlos Licona. No idea about either of those.
I know him. He'll put you to sleep. Trust me, that Barriga. They call him the mini weight Floyd Mayweather.
Ah. There you go then. Bit of info there. Also, Dave, Jarrett Hurd against Jason Wellborn. Fair play to Wellborn. Hope he gets a good payday for this, but it's a complete mismatch and no real interest in it whatsoever. Hurd will go through him, you would imagine. Be a bit like a Fernando Vargas Howard Clark fight from back in the day, possibly. Any interest in the undercard as a whole, Dave, before we move on to the main event?
Well, there's a fair amount of names on that undercard, but the matchups are god-awful. Jarrett Hurd's probably the most interesting name on the card, and I'd never heard of his opponent, unfortunately. But I'm not too well-versed in the, lower than top 5 names in 154 anyway. I still think it's a decent division. Like, if they make the fights, I think there's some interesting stuff that can happen there. I mean, a couple fights that Hurd's been in at top level have been really good to watch and pretty meaningful as well. And he upset Lara, which was awesome. But the main event is, I guess, why everyone's showing up. I'm actually surprised they're putting all those other names on it. Maybe just to showcase them, because I don't think they're spending on opponents.
Yeah, I want to see Jarrett Hurd against Charlo, to be honest. That is one of the fights that I do want to see.
You wanted to see Hurd fight fucking Wellborn. I was like, what?
No, I don't want to see that. It's going to be a massacre.
That's going to be... you hope something's not going to happen in that fight, bad, because...
No.
Jesus Christ, man.
To be fair, I mean, Hurd took a big... fairly bruising run of fights there. Like even in the Trout fight, like he got hit a lot, so he kind of deserves an easy one. It should have happened a little earlier, though. You would think.
He's coming off surgery, though. I think he have something to do with his shoulder or something like that.
Okay. Well, that sort of makes sense. This fight sort of makes sense. Like you want to showcase your champion, and you want to give him a little easier run after surgery and after he's had a tough go of it. I mean, that Lara fight was bruising for both.
Okay, right, let's get on to the big one then, shall we? Without further ado, Deontay Wilder, 40-0, defending his WBC World Heavyweight title against 27-0 Tyson Fury, the former man in the division. Of course, these two are fighting for more than that. They're fighting for the right, the privilege, in fact, to fight Anthony Joshua. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about for these two. Well, that's what Eddie would say if you were listening to him. Somebody's texting me. Who's that? No idea. Let's move on. Right, Gabe, I want to hear your opinion on this one. We've asked the people over on Twitter as well, even though we're not live, I want to hear their opinions, so I'll be throwing them in as we proceed. Dazcon V3, Dave, says Fury gives up after 4 rounds and blames a hand injury. So, I mean, obviously, you know, I'm not going to say that he's going to give up after 4 rounds and blame a hand injury, but what do you think, Gabe? The fight's maybe going on a bit late. Do you think Fury starts to gas a bit? Could there be any excuses? What type of excuse would you like to hear Fury come up with, Gabe, if he had to bail out the fight? What would you like to hear him say?
I don't want to hear anything. I want the fight to end on a spectacular note of somebody getting knocked the fuck out. Do I think that there will be an excuse for whoever loses? No, I don't really think so. I mean, maybe, but I tend to think both of these guys are pretty straightforward, straight shooters. You know, they don't tend to mince a lot of words, and they don't tend to make excuses for anything that goes on in their fights. So I don't expect to hear anything excuse wise. If there was, I would think it would be on the part of promotions after everything's said and done, and then we hear about some mysterious hamstring injury or a flu or something like that hit either one of them. But no, I think it's going to be a fairly straightforward fight. This is what I think is going to happen. You're going to see Fury. You're going to see him box and do well for the majority of the first 5 to 6 rounds, and in round 7 he's going to get sparked out smooth. He's going to be out like a light. Not saying I really wanted to go that way. I really, honestly, I couldn't care whoever wins the fight. I like both guys, so whoever wins, I'm going to be great. I think that's what's going to happen. I feel pretty confident that it's going to be a 7th round knockout in favor of Deontay Wilder.
Wow, there you go then. Andy, Gabe's laid it all down the line. Also, Dr. Popolowski, our friend Danny Robson over on Twitter, is thinking along the same sort of lines as Gabe, Andy. He said, Fury to start well but slow down after 5 rounds and get stopped around the 6th or 7th. Be amazed if he can dance for 12 rounds after the way he's lived the last few years. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, possibly. Again, it really depends how both are going to approach the fight. I expect Wilder to kind of be like the Ortiz fight, be on the back foot, just kind of looking for that one right hand all night. Fury probably flicking at the jab, moving, try to do what he did against Klitschko, for example. There is a lot of question marks. Can he still keep doing it for 12 rounds? Has the weight loss taken too much out of him? There's a lot of questions here that we need answers for, and I guess we're going to get these answers by, as Danny says, between the 5th and 6th rounds. I'm going to be going back and forward with this fight constantly. I can honestly see Wilder sparking him. I can really see it. But at the same time, I can honestly see Fury maybe playing with him. But then that's just maybe me be slightly conservative after what I thought would happen in the Klitschko fight. I never saw that performance at all coming. I thought Klitschko would have got to him late, purely off the experience factor and stuff. But I think Fury's probably going to win the first 4 or 5 rounds. If Wilder tries to step in, I can see Fury kind of grappling and wrestling and holding, making it ugly, and just kind of like, hitting and holding, make the referee break them up and stuff. Just kind of like try and take the sting out of the fight. I really don't know who that that type of style is actually going to favour. Obviously, Wilder he can be patient. We've seen that before. I'm going to say Fury's going to win it on points. I just think skill wise, just IQ, far better boxer.
And he's believing.
I'm believing a wee bit, but I'll probably change my mind again before the fucking fight comes round. But you can never tell. Again, heavyweight boxing, just takes one punch. We all know this, but I just think if Wilder's looking for that one punch all night long, and if it doesn't come, what else has he got? I can't really see it. And we will see it as well as if he gets pushed to go for the knockout, he can be sloppy. He's windmilling. He's all over the place. He's throwing his shots wild as anything. So I'm going to say Fury wins it on points.
Michael Hode Rob has jumped in. He says easy win for Fury. I haven't heard too many people saying that. What about the corner team? Obviously Ben Davidson and his lack of experience has been mentioned a few times. They've got Freddie Roach in, the voice of it. The voice of reason, isn't it? Maybe if the bad cut or things aren't going to plan late on in the fight, you've sort of got a voice there that's been there and done it, for decades.
Yeah. I think I've been excited about this fight since they made it. I know it was a bit of a bizarre, came out of left after months of Wilder Joshua negotiations. Then we get this fight and we're looking at it thinking Fury can't do this like so early. You know what I mean? He's looked terrible in his 2 comeback fights. He shed the weight or whatever. The Ben Davison situation. There's so many factors that I think we should talk about because one way or another we're going to be discussing them next week. Because if he wins, in spite of all these factors, you're going to have to say he's even greater than we thought he was. And if he loses, then these factors are going to come into consideration. So the 10-stone weight loss, we spoke about that countless times over the last few months. What's he going to look like after taking off 10 stone? You look at Roy Jones that took off a couple of stone to come back down to light heavyweight and his legs were gone. And I fear for Fury's legs in this fight. The fact that he was up in Big Bear training at an altitude and they said they were going to stay there for 6 weeks. They come back down out of Abel Sanchez's gym after 2 weeks. Now, before that, if you're watching the build-up, Fury says, I'm going to train at altitude. When I come back down to sea level, I'm going to be flying fit. So he's back down after 2 weeks. That doesn't bode well for me. And this late edition of Freddie Roach doesn't bode well for me either. I think I was one of the people that said that I thought he would beat Vlad. I didn't think he'd do it like that. And I think when he beat Vlad, him and Peter Fury had a perfect plan. And they executed the plan on the night, down to a T, down to the sealed water bottles, down to everything. And I just worry about Ben Davison. And I know Peter Fury hadn't fought at that level, hadn't had a win at that level before, and he had to have his first one too. But I think Peter Fury's tactical work with Tyson came to the fore that night against Vladimir. So I'd be worried about Ben Davison, who hasn't had a world title fight apart from that Billy Joe Saunders one where he looked awful. And then Freddie Roach being there. Freddie Roach just seemed to be like hired gun number 2 at the moment. He's back he's under Ben Davison and Boo-Boy Fernandez now at the moment. It's just a little bit strange to me, and it tells me that I think Fury might have got a little bit spooked after going to Big Bear and drafted in Freddie Roach late. Because we have to think that's a very strange addition. Now is it classic Fury mind games trying to spook Deontay Wilder, or is he spooked himself a little bit? I wouldn't rule him out. I know it's a joke on Twitter where we say prime Mike Tyson, but we nearly say the Fury who beat Vladimir as much, because that's all we can base it off, the Fury who beat Vladimir. Well, the Fury who beat Vladimir would have beaten Wilder quite easily, but the Fury that I've seen since I come back, I'm not so sure. And I think Wilder's going to be in an advantageous position from the way he's so awkward, because I think if he throws straight punches at Fury, he'll see him coming a mile off, but it's where the Wilder's punches come from. You remember the Spilka knockout? It's such an unorthodox angle that he catches him on, but they're still folding, and everybody's folded like a fucking deck chair that he's hit. So you'd have to say he could find Fury at some stage throughout the 12 rounds, or is Fury just going to be too big, too quick, and pick his pocket on the night? I'm hoping for the latter. I hope that Fury can outbox him and win the world title. I think it'd be an absolute massive win for him. And it would show that he's even greater than we thought. But history tells us, It's very, very rare that a heavyweight champion comes back after 3 years. You know, you could think of Ali, but even Ali wasn't the same. Like, so if Fury comes back and he's not the same, is that going to be a good enough version to beat Deontay Wilder? I hope so, but heart over head at the moment. I'm going for Fury on points, but I wouldn't be surprised if Wilder gets to him at some stage.
It's the Luis Ortiz factor as well, Rob, earlier on this year. You know, the way that I was really impressed with the way Wilder came back and not only stopped Ortiz late, but also the fact that he'd been so badly hurt himself.
Yeah, and he bit down and showed he could get through it under the lights. Like, so we haven't seen Fury under the lights really since Vladimir. Like, and he's talked. There's been so much made of the talk that he's done in this camp. I wonder, has he like talked a perfect game? But I don't know if it's going to be his fight game is going to be able to back it up. It hasn't so far on this comeback trail. There's no point lying about it. Like, he hasn't looked good in the Safari fight. Now, I know he's playing with guys that are levels below him, and he's shown before that he fights to the level of his opponent sometimes. So maybe he'll go out and just box out of his skin. But I think he's going to have to if he's going to get a win here.
Yeah, I think the fights against Safari, Dave, and the other fella Pianetta as well, it just goes to show the massive task. Not only, you know, he's going into Wilder, not only off the back of this huge layoff, but he's also going in having 2 fights against guys of really limited ability as well. The opposition hasn't been great for Fury, but I do think that he will mess Wilder around for a few rounds. But I think ultimately Wilder, Dave, is going to get to him and probably stop him late. I think Fury's gas tank and his legs will just go, and he'll end up getting caught by something. We spoke to Michael Jennings as well, didn't we, a while back when he came on the pod and asked him how you spar for someone like Wilder, how you prepare for someone. So hopefully Fury's got all the, you know, the sparring in and the preparations right, and between Freddie and whoever else is in the corner, he will have an excellent game plan. But, you know, whether the body, Dave, will match up to the mind and Fury will be able to stay out of the way for 12 rounds is, you know, it's doubtful in my opinion, to be honest. You've always been a bit of a Fury fan, Dave. You were one of the only people to pick him to beat Klitschko, weren't you?
Yeah, I knew he was going to beat Vlad. Vlad was there for the taking, especially with how bad he looked against Jennings. Fury, I was a huge fan of him for doing that and ending Vlad's long reign. I like him outside the ring. He's funny. He sometimes shows really glimpses of brilliance in the ring, but not in his 2 comeback showings. The more I think about those, like, the worse they kind of seem. Just because, like, you look back at the Christian Hammer fight before Vlad, you know, it was shit, and it wasn't great opposition, but he was still able to completely dominate and look totally relaxed. I mean, maybe in the Safari fight, which was pointless, but in the Pianetta fight, I didn't really see that all the way. I don't think I gave Pianetta a round, but Fury did not look as relaxed, did not look as confident at ease as he did schooling Hammer and or Vlad for that matter. And if you can look that, but he's only got himself to blame, you know, if this, well, himself and his own mental issues, and I pity those on him, and he's been an okay advocate for mental issues actually, but you know, if the body gives out on him, like, he can blame those years out at the ring, eating boar meat and cocaine and God knows what else. He was a mess for a while there, and now he's back. He looks great. He looks in good shape. In fact, he looks maybe even in better shape than he was for Vlad. I was very impressed with the picture I last saw. That actually pushed me more towards him. This is a great fight because anything can happen. And screw Joshua and screw Eddie. They're not the ones who matter here. These guys are not fighting for the right to face Joshua. These guys are fighting for the lineal heavyweight championship of the world. And this is the best heavyweight fight. This is the best heavyweight fight since Joshua faced Klitschko. It's not like Joshua's been dwarfing this in his past few years. No, he's been fighting mostly subpar opposition, and against some of them looking like shit, especially against Takam. So this is the big fight of the year. Hopefully it can deliver. There's so many things that can happen. Both guys are dangerous in their own way, and it's going to answer tons of questions. The huge layoff for Fury, the very, very gradually increasing level of opposition for Wilder. You just don't know what either guy has to offer, and like neither guy is really consistently showing us a certain style that works for them necessarily. mean, we know Wilder has a big punch, and we know Fury can move well and duck. The common boxing adage is, adage in life really is the best defense is a good offense. I think it's actually sort of reversed for Fury in that his really exceptional defense, especially for a heavyweight, is the biggest factor in his offense, because he makes you miss. He makes you feel stupid and look stupid. And then all he has to do is land like 3 jabs and he'll win a round. That's sort of what he did in some of those rounds against Vlad. He just kept him gun shy by making him miss. Not so much with what he came back with, although there were a few points where he did come back with like a good counter left hook and wobbled Vlad a bit. But for the most part, it was the defense that kept Vlad gun shy. And the question is if he's able to make Wilder look stupid early on and make him miss, is Wilder going to get gun shy? I don't see that. I feel like Wilder's the type of guy who's going to sell out. And will Fury have it in him to make him pay? Because Fury usually makes you miss, but he often doesn't follow up with big stuff. He had a lot of opportunities to follow up against Pianetta, and he didn't really do it. He played it pretty safe and feather-fisted in that fight.
Why? Why was that?
God knows. I don't know. He said he wanted to do the 12, and so did Ben Davidson. I don't know. It didn't look like that at some points where he was like kind of bullying him against the ropes, and he looked like he was looking for the stoppage. We know, thanks to some fights, that like specifically the Steve Cunningham fight, Fury can fight on the inside. And I actually thought that was going to be a much bigger factor against Vlad. Thought it was going to be some uppercuts that took Vlad out late in the fight after taking some of his confidence from the outside. But he didn't do that against Vlad. He just kept it outside. But we know that Fury can, if he has to, fight inside. And that, I think, Wilder can as well. As awkward and sometimes ridiculous as it looks, it's been effective at times. I think that it was an uppercut that put Ortiz down that really hurt him bad in their fight. And that was kind of the finisher. That was basically an inside shot. Mm-hmm. So both guys can fight inside, and if it becomes an infight, I think this could actually legitimately be an awesome scrap.
That's a good point. That's a really good point on the styles. Like, I think it'd be a mistake a lot of the time when Fury bemuses people. He boxes southpaw, and I think it'd be a mistake for him to box southpaw with Wilder with the straight right there as the potential combatant to that. But like, in terms of the two of them fighting on the outside or on the inside, I could see Fury's plan going out the window with the corner setup that he has. I think he could be likely to do his own thing, and if a scrap develops, instead of staying on the outside, boxing to a plan like he was clearly doing against Vladimir, that he could get dragged into something, and I wouldn't like to see the outcome of that. Like, so.
Well, to be fair, it did work against Cunningham, although Cunningham is certainly a different prospect than Deontay Wilder in an infight. So we'll see what happens. But I'm
Tyson has the huge advantages physically, Dave, doesn't he, against the likes of Cunningham?
Yeah, and he could just bore him around, maul him. In fact, there was some talk of protest after the fight because of how much on top of Cunningham Fury was. I know Cunningham's team was bitching a little bit.
He elbowed him, didn't he, at one point?
Yeah, he held me and hit me, and like that's how I got knocked out. I mean, it was a lot of talk that ultimately came to nothing, and I think it was a fair knockout ultimately. It was a good strategy considering how badly Fury started that fight off. I think he like, it wasn't just a big knockdown. He got hurt real bad by a left hook as well, and almost lost that fight by stoppage. I think he was not that far off, but we know that both guys can bite down and continue fighting. Can this version of Fury do it? I don't know. I don't see him as a quitter like the one of our listeners suggested, but it's possible. Anything is possible. And like Gabe said, I like both guys as well. So I'm not going to care too much about who wins. I'm more hoping we just get a good fight and good show. And ideally, both guys' stock goes up after this fight. Those are the kind of fights we all like best.
Yeah, Dave wants to see boxing as the winner. Let's talk about the elephant in the room before we move on to the Bellew of the Week's Gabe. Lee J has thrown in a comment. He said, if this fight was in 12 to 18 months' time and with a few decent fights under his belt, then I'd give Fury a decent chance. He's fought two chumps after nearly 3 years out after the PED situation and his mental health. Kills me to say it, says Lee, but Wilder to win by KO in within 4 rounds. And this is the situation I want to talk to you about, Gabe. Men's luxury fitness threw something in last week. He said, I noticed Tyson Fury has said in a few of his big USA interviews about how the British Boxing Board of Control called it quits in his case, along with Hughie Fury's case. Of course, this isn't true, says Men's Luxury Fitness, as they both got a retrospective ban of about 2 years. All the details are on the UKAD website. So this is where we're bringing in you, Gabe. What do you think of this narrative from Tyson? And do you think him and Hughie were doping? I'm interested, and it's a good talking point. Will Tyson have the same engine clean if he was cheating before? What do you think about this whole situation, Gabe?
I don't know. There was so much literally shit that came out of all this stuff. You know, I thought that they ended up saying the reason he got popped was positive for cocaine. I don't know. There was so much stuff that I read whenever all that stuff was going on that I have no real recollection of what was actually the end finding, what they found in their systems. And at this point, I don't think that it's relevant except what you just talked about with, can he do it if he's clean? Was he doping then? So I guess to answer the question, what was it? What did they finally say that it was that they found?
Well, it says on UKAD here, Gabe, it said, UKAD, Tyson Fury and Hughie Fury have agreed to resolve the proceedings brought by UKAD brackets 1 against Tyson and Hughie based on the reported presence of elevated levels of Nandrolone, blah, blah, blah. So in the end, he ended up taking a 2-year retrospective ban. And so judging by what it says on their website, all parties agreed. So there is some level of culpability by what is on UKAD's website for elevated levels of nandrolone metabolites in urine samples.
You know, I don't know. I really don't have a good answer on this because I'm not familiar with what nandrolone does to a person. I think there are some actual medicinal uses of it. I may be mistaken. I don't know. The point is, I guess the point is accurate. If he was doping and to what level that helped him in his layoff career. If he's not now, then I think that it could be a different Fury that we see. It's one of those things, like you can't add 1 and 1 to get 3. You know, you either do the same things you did before and to certain levels to get the same results, or you're not going to get the same results. Like it just doesn't work that way. I don't know. I mean, I would say that we should maybe be able to tell over the course of a long, grueling fight with a guy that's going to put pressure like Wilder. I don't think he's going to be on the back foot. I think Wilder's going to be on the front foot. So I think that we could see some effects of it. But then again, the whole layoff was forever. I mean, he weighed so much and he was inactive for so long and he treated his body so poorly for such a large portion of the time that he was gone. How do you really come back from that? I mean, is it really possible in this sport to come back from that? Is it any sport? Would you expect to see an Olympic caliber runner or a soccer player or baseball or football, any sport that you think of? It's really not feasible for them to come back from a layoff like the one Fury had.
Great shout.
In the shape that they go in. So I don't think it's possible. I would say that at this point, the issues that we see will more likely be from the poor treatment of his body than from the potential use of Nandrolone.
Yep, that's a great shout, Gabe. Absolutely great shout. In any other sport, would you see someone losing 10 stone to be able to come back to the peak of their performance? Like, very big. It's a very big, very difficult. I suppose we're going to find out next Saturday. But in terms of the Nandrolone, that's an interesting shout by the listener as well, because he said on the Rogan show that UKAD said he'd no case to answer when it finally got heard. And then maybe they just accepted the ban or whatever retrospectively. But it's a strange one, because didn't they bring their own bottles of water, like I mentioned, over to Germany, so they didn't want anybody giving them water, contaminated water, so they didn't want to put test positive post Klitschko. Like, so it seems strange. It seems a strange one. He did say that Nandrolone is produced naturally in the body, and maybe fellas at 6'7" or have escalated levels of Nandrolone, but I mean, that's about as believable as Canelo's Mexican meat story, isn't it? But
and
I think
during all this, Rob, the cocaine thing and the missed test or whatever it was came in the middle of this, so that's why the waters have been so muddied.
Exactly, and didn't he? Yeah, it doesn't look good that he told UKAD to leave the gym one day or whatever when they showed up to test him. So that doesn't bode well either. But I think Gabe is right in that the state he got himself into after that physically surely negates any possible doping offences from 3 years ago. Like, he's been a mess. Like, you know what I mean. So to get back into this shape is remarkable. But I think he might have left it in the gym. I just do. Like, the more the fight approaches, I just can't. I'm finding it more difficult to see a way that he can beat Wilder. Like,
yeah, just to draw a line under men's luxury fitness's point. I don't know where I stand on this, to be honest, Gabe. Sorry, just before I bring you in, just to give Tyson Fury like a sort of right to reply on the independent website. He says, "I'm a fighting man through and through, and I've never backed down from anyone in my life, and I was certainly not going to back down from fighting this dispute, the one with UKAD. Fury and I have maintained our innocence from day one." This was back in 2017, by the way. "And we're now happy that it has finally been settled with UKAD and that we can move forward knowing that will not be labelled drug cheats. But it appears to me that the settlement he speaks of was accepting a retrospective 2-year ban." So it is a grey area, Gabe.
Well, I think it is for sure. I think it is a gray area, and I think that we'll never know until either the Furies come out and say, "Yeah, we did," or until the commission comes out.
That's never going to happen, is it?
Well, you never know. I mean, maybe in 30 years in a tell-all book or some kind of bullshit nonsense. I mean, you never say never, but I doubt it.
You don't often hear fighters turn around and say, "Oh, you got me." They always say, "We maintain our innocence in this matter because it didn't do anything."
Yeah,
what about
absolutely.
It opens up question marks then, Gabe, for other things, doesn't it?
You guys are.
What about Mia St. John?
Hold on, Gabe. You finish your point first. Sorry, go ahead, Gabe.
So what I was looking up, just a quick look for Nandrolone, just to help our listeners and myself to some extent. These Nandrolone, and there may be other methods of use, but it's the information that I'm finding is that Nandrolones are not active by mouth; they must be injected into muscle. There are some side effects typical that we talk about before with performance-enhancing drugs, acne, hair growth, voice change. They're a synthetic, so it's not a natural, but they are used to increase performance and physique. So maybe I don't know. I don't think there's still enough information for us to ever say that. Yeah, we know that he did use it, but it does seem to me to be something that we would know about. Otherwise, somebody would have to know about it, because this is, from what I'm reading, says it's not in orally administered. It's injected. So I don't know. That helps me a little bit more to see what I guess some of those things are. From also what I'm reading with Nandrolone, the side effects like the acne, hair growth, and such are not what would you call it? Pronounced side effects. Seems to me, from what I'm reading, that they're kind of lower tiered side effects, so they may not be as bad. But I don't ever remember seeing Fury with a whole bunch of acne or a whole lot of those other side effects that we talked about.
Not Tyson, anyway.
What's that?
Not Tyson, but Huey, sure.
Yeah.
Voice change. You sure Steve has had a bit of a voice change there, but his dad does talk like that, I suppose. But
he claimed to go punched in the throat, or he damaged his larynx or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
The whole thing, I don't know. I don't know where I stand on it, to be honest. I'm just looking through all the bits and pieces and trying to put out what we know as evidence, what we know is true, and what the listeners are saying to us as well. And people can make up their own minds, but I think there's definitely some muddy waters involved in the whole situation. But let's go on to Bellew of the Week, shall we? Because we need to get out of here very soon. I've had quite a few coming in. I'm sure the boys have as well. I know Gabe has a decent one in. Anthony has thrown one in for Eddie Hearn, talking to Chris Mannix. Eddie was trying to claim that Maurice Hooker is the number one lightweight in the world. Chad Hogan.
That prick, didn't he? He did it with Kell Brook after he beat, was it Rabchenko?
He beat Rabchenko, nearly fought Brandon Cook, and now he's fighting against Michael Zarafa. How can you possibly, Andy, with a straight face, claim that he's the number one 154 in the world, like against someone like a Jarrett Hurd?
This is Eddie Hearn we're talking about here. This is the guy who brings us Jason Gavin off an operating table because he brings the banter. Dave Allen, South Area title fucking challenger. He brings the banter, he sells tickets and stuff. Hearn is a shameless cunt. I mean, he talks about, for example, Wilder not turning up at the Joshua fight against, was it Povetkin or was it the Klitschko fight?
Oh yeah, no, Wilder not turning up to Joshua Parker. Sorry, yeah.
The Parker fight is like, if I was his promoter, if I was his manager, I'd be pushing him, I'd be dragging him to ringside, get him in the ring and stuff like that. No, he's not going to be ringside for the fight of the weekend. And people are, all the sycophants are saying, aye, but he doesn't need to be there because he earns so much. All these fucking accountants, man, that's unbelievable.
Eddie Hearn explicitly banned Wilder from being ringside.
Exactly. No, Joshua says he wasn't going to get into the ring. So Wilder's like, what's the fucking point in me being there then?
Yeah. Right, Chad Hogan has nominated Tony Maurice Ride, talking about the possible Crolla-Lomachenko fight. Crolla is elite level, says Tony, but no man is beating Lomachenko. He's right on one of those scores. He's wrong on the other one, I would say. Colin Simpson has nominated Tommy Coyle. Tommy is looking for a world title shot. Rocky never deserved a shot against Apollo, says Tommy. They wanted to make Apollo look good. I'm okay with that. Look at the career Rocky had after that. I'm probably going to buy me a new hat and a Harley Davidson. I'm going to buy a snow cone machine for Nigel too. Sounds a bit Magic Roundabout, all that stuff. Andy, you've nominated Colin Cooper. Colin admitted last week, I switched the pod off on the train home from work thinking you had uploaded an old edition by mistake when I heard David Price had beaten Audley Harrison the night before. Fortunately, I fast-forwarded and discovered it was the first ever episode played for a minute or so. We fooled them, Andy.
Brilliant, mate. I was like, oh, did I actually think... It says on the episode 300. Jesus Christ.
He maybe thinks I'm a bit thick, Andy.
He must have thought we're at the wind-up or something. Like, he must have been sitting there. I can just imagine him sitting in his car round the work raging like, fuck, this is a wrong episode.
Some other numbskull said he turned it off because the audio was too bad, so he must have thought the same thing. So...
Good.
I know there's some idiots turning up in the comments. So a few of the regulars as well are still there, the boyos. But yeah, there's a few numpties. I suppose as the show grows and expands, you do get these casuals jumping on board. Boxing Bet Guru has nominated Tommy Coyle as well for the Apollo Creed comments. Jay has been talking about Gervonta Davis. Will you fight in the UK soon? Love to see you. He said to Gervonta. He fought Walsh there, didn't he? Says Hamza. Don't think so, says Jay. Gervonta himself jumped in. He was obviously sober. Yes, I did, he said. Jay obviously forgot about that one. Tommy Cahill has nominated the Boxing News. They're saying, who is the best of the four heavyweights? Wilder, Fury, Joshua, or Dillian White? Why is Dillian White in there, says Tommy. Nomination. Andy Bass has nominated Jake, TK95, talking about Tommy Coyle deserves a world title shot because of the stuff he's done out of the ring. Nick Knight has nominated Corey McGuigan, 32. A clue might be in the surname here of Corey McGuigan. He said, White versus Chisora 2 is a stronger card and more competitive fight than the Warrington-Frampton card, and I ain't buying both. Shame for boxing fans, nobody wins. Corey McGuigan is buying White Chisora 2. Read into that what you will. Terence has nominated Sparrow _Tipsy. if Anthony Joshua was going to be in attendance at the weekend, tickets would already be sold out, I guarantee you. And also pay-per-view numbers would increase by at least 40%.
Fucking wanker. Absolute fucking wanker. See, I'm being serious here. Do these people actually believe what the type, or have they been paid to say this shit? I'm being serious. I mean, come on, fuck, man. 40%? I want to see the projections on that one, like.
Boxing Boys nominated Sparrow_Tipsy as well as a few other people. Boxing Brave has nominated Jamel Charlo. Excited to show the world on December the 22nd why I believe I'm in boxing since Mike's Tyson, says Jamel Charlo. I like the Charlos, but they need to start stepping up. You see that William Monroe Jr. and Tony Harrison?
They need to step up in drug as well, mate.
Aye, that feels like a card from like 2015, 2016. It feels like something we've seen before. I'm not impressed with that.
Nah, it's like the kind of fights you would have coming through the ranks and stuff. But as I say, you know, it's them and Errol Spence rejecting VADA testing. Yeah, there's certainly something going on.
The Charlos are mad. One of them came in with a lion head into the ring, and the other one left his bag of 40 grand worth of cash in the 40-40 club.
That was brilliant. And he got robbed.
Two mental cases, the Charlos, fucking maniacs.
Andy, talking of drug testing, did you hear about the South African IBO cruiserweight champion Kevin Lerenia? He got caught. He's been caught apparently under the doping thing, and he's been caught taking a drug that helps women with ovulation. So, I mean, to be fair, maybe he was trying to get pregnant.
Oh, dearie me, no, I've heard about these guys taking women's drugs to kind of like counteract testosterone or whatever it is. It kind of suppresses something.
That's right. And you end up with man boobs and whatever.
Aye, so he's used this to kind of re-kick his system into place again. That's a shame because Larenya was actually coming off some good wins.
I know, yeah. Well, now we know why, I suppose. Yeah, maybe we should cut him some slack. You know, maybe he was feeling like he wanted to be a woman that day. I'm not going to go down that path, everybody. I'm not going to go down that path, but maybe he was trying to get pregnant anyway, old Kevin. Sam, fluid. Yeah, maybe he's gender fluid, exactly, Dave.
He denies it, though. I just checked it there. He's denying it. Of course.
Did he?
That's what he does. Everybody does the same thing. Yeah, it wasn't me, boss.
He's denying it now, but what happens if in frigging 9 months' time he has twins? Then he'll look a bit stupid, won't he?
Well, we'll wait and see if he comes back with a fucking double F breasts and stuff like that. By the way.
Two twins that look like Eddie Hearn.
He'll have a nice pair of Gerald Noble.
It should be noted actually. It was actually a VADA test so as well. So it's pretty much probably going to be spot on. Then if VADA have caught him.
There we go then. We'll nominate him, shall we? We'll nominate Kevin while we're at it. Sam, our friend over at Against the Ropes Boxing, has nominated Sparrow_Tipsy as well. Worth reading out again, this one. If Joshua is going to be in attendance, tickets would already be sold out, I guarantee you. And also pay-per-view numbers would increase by at least 40%. Says Sparrow_Tipsy. Yeah, quite a few nominations for him. Connor Ben has put up a photo of him wrapping his hands. Mr. Sharp says, looking lean, Connor. Big 2019. # strap season. Joe Thackeray jumped in with an appropriate ha 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 ha. Numerous. I think that was the best reaction, to be honest with you. Latchkey Kid has nominated Lucas Browne and this god-awful Junior Fatty. I suppose the whole card in general, to be honest with you. Chris Blackman has nominated Frank, talking about Tyson Fury. He's an exponent of the art of boxing, which is to be hit and not be hit. Another classic from Frank. Mark Cunningham has been nominated by Chad Hogan, Brian King. Mark Cunningham retweeted Tony Bellew whenever Bellew said it was time to leave the ring. And Mark added in his own little hashtags. #legend, #brother, #Scouser, #WBC King. Mark Cunningham getting a bit emotional there. This is the one you were mentioning, Andy. Who was it put the video up? MBS Boxing put the video up of Eddie Hearn talking to Gareth A. Davis before the Joshua Parker fight, basically saying that it was disgraceful that Wilder wasn't turning up. As you rightly said, Andy, now the roles are pretty much reversed, aren't they?
Absolute banger. Again, but I didn't want to keep harping back to Eddie Hearn and stuff like that, but just be consistent. I know you're promoting, you've got your shite to say and you've got to lie and stuff like that to make a pound note and all that sort of stuff, but at least fucking be consistent with trying to fucking sell us at the same time. But again, as I'm talking here, all I can hear rattle in the back of my head is some casual talking about that Joshua doesn't need to be there, which probably deep down he probably doesn't need to be there at all and that. But at the same time, Joshua isn't known in America. right? So it would have done him no shame or no harm to be there to get yourself promoted a wee bit further, just to the networks, to the casuals and stuff, and just show them how much of a boring bastard you are, really.
You actually make a good point, Andy, in amongst all of that, saying about Joshua not being known in America. People talking about Joshua on DAZN pushing over subscriber numbers. I don't think anybody gives a shit. They're not aware of him at the moment, to be honest.
Well, I don't know if the Yanks can tell us if how much these subscription numbers are up or how many they've got and stuff. But somebody that actually posted a picture up and stuff. If they've taken out Povetkin and Joshua out of the picture at their promotional release, the stable of fighters that Hearn had at that promotion was there's nothing really that they can give you a hard on or anything like that. But
Jesse Vargas, you're not digging Demetrius Andrade, Andy?
Probably Maurice Hooker.
Jesse Vargas.
Daniel Roman?
Katie Taylor.
Hey, Taylor.
She sounds a bit like that. Look, mate. Oh, no. Anyway, right, let's go on. Let's move on, Rob, but before we get... Oh, I'll tell you what, Rob, we've got a Rob from Montreal getting nominated here, from James S. This could be you in another life. He's talking about Wilder against Anthony Joshua, and Rob from Montreal says, I think Wilder would be lucky to last 5 with AJ and would lose to most of his recent opponents.
All right, man. Yeah, no, I don't think I'd say that, man. That might be me in another life, yeah.
No, Rob's not that bad. We were talking about Jeff Horn against Anthony Mundine earlier. Jeff Horn has been talking to Boxing Scene. Liam nominated him. Mundine has a similar style to Crawford. He's dangerous. Well, in that case, I suppose if he's similar to Crawford, Horn's going to be losing, isn't he? What do you think?
I had that one in the stats. We sell. He genuinely trying his best to sell that pay-per-view. It must be pay-per-view in Australia because he said with a dead straight face, I lost to a good boxer the last time out, and Anthony Mundine has that similar style to Terence Crawford. And he goes, but I think I know where I went wrong. So I don't know what's going to happen in that fight at 160. But I had one that's actually fucking could win it from Sugar Shane Mosley. He posted an Instagram picture during the week of an old man kneeling with his leg out and a woman sitting on his knee. And he said, I know Andre Berto loves his queen like this. Tag a good brother, and tell him Sugar Shane said, good looking out. I just want all us brothers to be the good dudes we were meant to be and change the face of America by really holding up our queens. I will always hold you up and down, baby, at Trap Sandy or whatever her name is, right? But like we've seen this story has had more sequels than the Rocky movies. Like we've seen Sugar Shane take a pounding to Gin Mosley. We've seen Bella Gonzalez bail when Canelo beat him. We've seen that little 22-year-old move that Ricardo Mayorga grabbed her ass. She made off with a shitload of money from Mosley Promotions, and now he's holding up another queen. Like you really need Burgess Meredith in the corner, like you lousy bum Shane, you couldn't even catch a chicken. Like, you know what I mean?
You don't think this is going to be true love then, Rob? Is that what you're saying?
Well, judging by her reaction to that post was just like a love heart or something. She was like, all right, Shane. Cool, man.
I love
you know what I mean?
I love Dave's comments during the week and stuff when he says Jim Mosley, she wanted half of everything, like the belts and the fucking money, so she deserves half the brain damage.
and like even the standard of I don't want to say anything disrespectful about the lady, but just the standard has been, if you want to equate it to his career, like Bella Gonzalez was him knocking out Antonio Margarito, and this current one is like him fighting the last version of Mayorga that he fought. It's like, so it's slipping as well. He's getting his status as a retired fighter is not picking up that same kind of Latina heat that he was getting back in his prime.
His next queen.
So,
his next queen gonna look like losing to David Evanesian.
He's like
Jane Cook.
He's taken more L's to women than he has to men in his career. Like, big shame. It's sad. Fucking sad. Like,
you can see him in 10 years' time going out with some bird that's like a bulldog chewing a wasp or something like that.
Yeah. And he's like my queen, and he's buying her little handbag and everything, holding it down for the queen. It's like, but as well as that, we staying on Instagram. Just before the show, we got to see Danny Garcia and his aspiring singer spouse recreate one of the scenes from Scarface in questionable Burberry attire. The famous scene where Tony first tries to Mac Michelle Pfeiffer, Tony Montana, and he said, "Oh, you're talking to me now, baby." But Matt Garcia is doing it clearly. indulging in the same kind of Scarface activity by the looks of the video as well. Like, so,
I thought
Danny Swift.
I thought it was on the old jellies, actually, the way the fucking faces he was pulling.
That was bonkers.
He was pulling. Maybe he's a character actor. We don't know, but there might be more strings to Danny Swift Garcia's bow that we know about.
But if he wasn't having a fucking stroke.
that scene too is the lone wolf bursting into the room.
The shirt is up there with Floyd Mayweather's hat alone. The shirt is, so it's worth checking out that one as well, like, for a bit of crack.
Aye, Danny's a bit bonkers. Right, Matthew Skelton, MTK Siderman, he was talking about why should AJ turn up to Wilder Fury. They need AJ to turn up and sell more seats because that's what would happen if he turned up, says Siderman.
40% pay-per-views.
40%. Well, he didn't specify a number, Andy, but we can assume anything up to 40%, yes. Yeah. Exactly. Tom Blake has jumped in with a nomination for Brian Boxing. Brian Boxing said that Deontay Wilder basically ducked Charles Martin. So, okay, fair enough, whatever. Chad has nominated Isa Saruklu, who was talking about Kid Galahad. Future pound for pound, been saying this for a long time now, says Isa Saruklu. Yeah, I don't think so. And Marcus Bellinger has nominated Johnny Nelson, who said that Yalusinov is no Josh Kelly. And that's all the ones that I have. Rob's thrown in a fair few as well. I'm liking that Sugar Shane Mosley one, Andy. You got any?
I'm liking that one. No, I passed you my ones, mate. But I could just expand on Johnny Nelson's comments about Ilushinov not being any Josh Kelly. He fucking beat Josh Kelly as an amateur, and he fucking beat Josh Taylor as well. That fucking banger, man. I mean, see if you're not British, by the way, you're fucking nothing, according to the fuckers. Brexit boxing, that's what it's all about.
But the way he's saying that, isn't he? Yalusinov is no Josh Kelly. In other words, he's setting Kelly as the, they're setting the fighters as the standard that, like, the likes of Yalusinov have to aspire to.
Well, good for them, but at the end of the day, Josh isn't going to step up. Johnny Nelson spoke, so the casuals have got to fucking say that, well, they've got to agree with Johnny, but no, it's just, again, I just, as I say, right for the off last night, they were hating on him straight for the start and stuff like that. And they started fucking talking about Josh Kelly as if he is like, he like the second coming or whatever and stuff. As I say, Rob was fucking writing off what he said about the triple left hooks and that. You fucking see him try to land triple left hooks against that guy. Even that guy, I bet he doesn't do it.
No. Hey to Dave. Any from you before we go on to Gabe?
I haven't got any nominees. I'm going to vote for whoever that. It was that dingo dipshit who said Anthony Mundine has a similar style to Crawford. He's dangerous.
Dave doing impressions of Alf from Home and Away here.
That's good, that actually. Good accent, that.
Dave's getting better, isn't he? Gabe, yeah, you've got one for us, haven't you?
Yeah, mine is a little bit out of the ordinary, and it's not a typical one, but I'm going to nominate Donnie Baseball for doing absolutely fucking nothing.
I like that. We could maybe put Tommy and Kurt in the same vote as well.
Kurt's not doing absolutely nothing. I tell you that for nothing.
Aye.
Oh, you on his Snapchat, are you?
Kurt's been shot for years.
Did you want to nominate yourself as well, Gabe, you saying?
How's that?
I thought you put in the chat that you had a self-nomination or something. Have I read it wrong? Sorry.
Well, a nomination coming from myself, as opposed to coming from another listener or anyone else.
Okay, I understand. Sorry, Gabe. I'm torn between Spo_Tipsy, who was going on about the 40%. I think I'm going to go for Shane Mosley. He's going to be back on the penny stocks again soon, Rob, if he's not careful. I take it you're going for Shane as well.
Yeah, pound for pound, Shane defeated by multiple women. It's not going to be his last. He's going to be out like an old Roy Jones, getting beat up by the female equivalent of Enzo Macronelli. It's going to be a sad end for Sugar Shane. But his son seems to be doing well, so maybe he's learned from his dad's mistakes. But poor Shane, sad to see.
Yeah, the WBC are going to be making a belt for Shane soon, and all these losses that he's taking. Who are you going for?
Jin is going to get half of the belt.
Yeah, exactly. Who are you going for, Gabe?
Man, I don't know. There's a lot of good ones this week. I kind of like the Mundine is Crawford shout out that we had, but then Shane, I don't know. Shane's is pretty good too. Choices. Mosley, final answer.
There's 3 for Mosley. Then I think it's pretty much academic because there's only 2 people left. If my maths is holding up well enough, Andy, are you going for Shane or maybe Mr. 40%er?
It's a hard one actually between these two. I'll go for the 40%er. Surely it's something because he's talking right out his fart box, isn't he? 40%. How the fuck did he come to that figure? Has he been going to the same accounting school as fucking Eddie Hearn or stuff like that? Who, by the way, said this fight should only be on fucking regular Sky. Absolute fucking cockwaddle.
He's gone to the Matchroom Italy College of Economics.
Oh my god.
Did he really say that, Andy, that Wilder Fury should be on regular TV?
No, while this Chisora White fight should be on regular Sky.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I actually said that. I mean, whether that Mr. 40%er is, whether his name is fucking Mr. Pube Snorter, that's what he should be fucking called. Fucking
Dave,
hell.
if AJ turns up ringside for for Dillian White against Derek Chisora 2, how many more pay-per-view sales do you think it would do?
Americans ain't going to give a shit if he's there.
Come on, who's getting it from you this week then? Eddie, Sparrow Tipsy, Sugar Shane Mosley. What is it?
For me, I'm voting for that Australian guy who was trying to sell the sad little pay-per-view they've got going on over there.
Yeah, shout out to all our Australian listeners from Hey to Dave there. Okay, congratulations to Sugar Shane Mosley. You've got 3 this week, so you are the winner. He might be taking L's in the boxing ring, but he's winning awards on this show. That was the Bellew of the week, everybody. Right, we're going to park this PBC list for another week. I can't be arsed.
I think the last time Sugar Shane won was when his own monkey locked him out of his house, and then he said he had to spank his monkey.
I forgot about that.
I forgot that too. Oh man, boys. Shane should have his own reality show. Just the music from Kyber Enthusiasm playing in the background every time he breaks up with his woman, like.
Right, boys, let's end it. Thanks very much for your company. It's been an enjoyable 2 hours as usual. Dave, the Hater Lowback, was on tonight in fine form. Andy Patterson as well, as always, Gabe, Lewis, and rapping Rob Kelly. Patreon.com/Boxing Asylum, everybody. Punches from the past, etc. dropping very soon. Don't forget to go over to iTunes as well and leave a review. Nothing less than 5 stars in the month of December is acceptable. Also November as well. That's what we're still in, isn't it? Yeah, it is. YouTube. You can subscribe on YouTube if you want. I'm not too bothered about them anymore. I've been Steve Wellings. We shall catch you again, same place, sort of around the same time next week. Goodbye.